God. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just make it right.
My babies, my babies. Oh, God.
The insanity plea is only used about 1% of the time, and of that 1%, it only really works about 25% of the time. When someone is up for the death penalty, it isn't unusual for someone to try and plead insane. If you are deemed legally insane, you cannot be put on death row in many states. Legally insane is different than clinically insane. To be legally insane, one must not be aware what they are doing is morally wrong, or not be aware of what they're doing at all. Today's video is about Timothy Jones Jr., a man described as smart, religious, and driven. This would change as his family grew, eventually having 5 children that he murdered. Timothy pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. If Timothy was going to argue that he has voices in his head and plead the insanity route, in theory he could have pleaded irresistible impulse insanity defense, meaning one can be aware of their actions but does not have control over them. Unfortunately for him, most states and the federal government do not recognize this as a valid defense anymore due to the gray areas and the ability for guilty people to use it to get away with crimes. During the trial, Timothy's ex-wife, Amber Kaiser, takes the stand and recounts in visibly painful detail the change of his personality from her husband to a cold-blooded killer.
How long did the two of you date after leaving that each council?
6 weeks.
You were married after 6 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Early in your relationship, did you attend church together?
Yes, ma'am.
Explain how that came about.
When I met Tim, he was already involved in the church. I was not. I was working 3 jobs. I thought, wow, this guy has it together. He was going to school part-time, working part-time, and had church under the belt. I started going with him to these services, and we found a church family together.
So I want to ask a little bit more about that. You said you dated 6 weeks before marriage. What
Yes.
was it that encouraged you to marry Timothy Jones after the 6 weeks of dating?
In the church that we were attending, I guess you could say they didn't believe in long dating periods. They felt like it was too enticing to be around each other and not be married. So, in retrospect, we decided to get married. He was already speaking in the church, and we thought that it was more appropriate to get married.
And you mentioned that he had a job and was attending school. Where was he attending school back then when you first met?
College of DuPage.
DuPage, and that's in Illinois.
Yes, ma'am.
What was his undergraduate degree, or what type of degree was he pursuing at the time?
I believe he was going for pediatric doctor, something along those lines. I don't know the specific word for it.
So he spoke with you about that as far back as when the two of you first met?
Yes, ma'am.
That he wanted to be a doctor.
Yes.
What else attracted you to him?
Tim was very goal-oriented. Sorry.
You mentioned that you attended.
Very smart man. And everything that he had set out to do as a goal, he accomplished, and I found that very honorable. That's one of the main things that attracted me to him.
Timothy didn't grow up having much power with all the rape, violence, and drug abuse in his family. Having a family of his own gave him power, and he didn't hesitate to use it against his children and his ex-wife. Treating women less than equal is likely stemming from his very strong religious beliefs. Timothy was beyond the standard level of religious and always preached it to an extreme level. Studies have shown that places with high religious affiliations have high gender inequality, and places with low religious affiliations have low levels of gender inequality.
Women are to be seen and not heard. I was merely to take care of the children, to keep them out of his way. and to do as he asks as my husband.
He ever discussed with you how many children he wanted?
Well, at one point he wanted a farm full, he said.
During the trial, Timothy's babysitter, Joy Lorick, took the stand and recounted her experiences and the abusive nature of Timothy. She would not only care for his children most of the week, but she would also go on vacations with them. Her perspective is as close as you can get to understanding the true inner workings of his family.
Did you go to Tim's house?
Yes, I kept the kids at the house.
And what was the condition of the house when you saw
It would be like dishes, clothes everywhere, trash overflowing.
were there bugs?
Oh yeah, there was like a few roaches.
It was dirty.
Yeah,
And did you try and clean it up?
yeah. I tried to like wash the dishes and try to pick up a little bit while I was there.
While spanking children as a form of punishment was used widely back in the day, it is less seen today. Timothy never hesitated to spank his children with a belt, no matter how young they were. We will hear of an example of a different form of punishment that he commonly used on his children, known as PT, physical training. Sometimes he would have his children do PT for hours at a time.
When you driving a long period of time, kids tend to get agitated, and so the kids start like moving around, yelling, jumping around and stuff. And Mr. Jones told them that he would pull to the side of the road and make them get out and do squats. And I was like, oh no, So,
You thought he was serious.
oh yeah, yeah.
Timothy uses food restriction as another form of control over his children. This can be very dangerous because it can lead to malnutrition.
Me being at the house and feeding the kids oatmeal all day, it wouldn't really be nothing. I probably remember one time he came back with Little Caesars pizza. It was like only one box of Little Caesars pizza. But other than that, that's what I fed the kids all day is oatmeal. I just remember after I stopped keeping them, I asked Miss Elke to please make sure that she fed them because I wasn't too sure how he fed them at nighttime. I just remember me feeding them oatmeal all day. And I remember a certain time when they had told me, it was one day that he was getting off work and they just kept asking for oatmeal all day and I fed them. Any kids, I'm going to feed them. I don't care how much that kid done ate, like an hour, 2 hours ago, I'm going to feed them. And I remember they said, Miss Joy, could you not tell Daddy you just fed us? Because he might not feed us again. And I said, I would never do that to y'all.
It is now September 3rd, 2014. The children's mother, Amber, reported Timothy and her 5 children missing. A few days later, on the 6th, Timothy was stopped at a checkpoint and charged for DUI and drug possession. The officers checked their records and saw the missing persons report and inquired about his children. He denied having any at all. When the officers asked about his children again, he changes his story and says that he is 3 and that they are with a family friend. They end up finding blood and cleaning supplies in the back of his vehicle. Not but a couple days later, Timothy confesses to everything. This is the recorded audio from the confession that was played in his trial.
Do you have any ideas or beliefs that other people think are crazy?
I don't know, they probably think my thoughts about exercise are nuts, but I tend to think people should take care of themselves.
Okay.
Timothy justifies what would be seen as extreme, unconventional punishment as acceptable. He diverts the blame to the current generation and the way their parents are raising them, saying that his means of punishment will raise his children in such a way that they will not become bad kids of society. His stint in the Navy is likely where his physical training punishment stems from. It is not unlikely in the Navy, if you are out of line, they will force you to do something like push-ups. But when it comes to children, it's totally different, and for the duration that he was forcing them to do PT.
I'm old school in the sense that I think kids should get their asses busted by a teacher.
Okay.
I don't like the fact, and here's one of my problems. This is what the DSS was about.
Yeah.
When I grew up, I didn't worry about kids bringing guns to school and blowing the hell out of each other or the teacher. That didn't happen because there was a healthy fear, and you got corrected by parents. These day and age, kids bring guns to school because I don't think that they're corrected at home, and they take other people's lives because they got no respect for authority. I said, I will not let my kids go out and go blasting people away because I'm not teaching them to respect human life. Mm-hmm. So that was my whole motivation with the time to push him. Hey, dude, you need to tell me what you're up to, man. I need to know.
Throughout Timothy's trial, he recounts what led to the murders of his 5 children. The reasoning for the murders changes multiple times throughout the trial. His first recount of what triggered the murders will be of Natan, 6 years old. Supposedly, Timothy walked in on Natan playing with an electrical outlet, and Natan would not tell him what he was doing, leading Timothy to punish him with excessive PT.
I questioned Natan about 4 outlets that he blew. After a series of not getting any favorable responses out of him, I tried to use more harsh measures to just try to get out of him what was going on, because I didn't know what he was doing. I seen 4 destroyed outlets. Is it for me, him? Was he curious? I just didn't know what was going on, and I was trying to make sense of it. I think I worked him too hard, or maybe it was a combination of the electricity. I know electricity takes electrolytes out of your body. Something happened. It was out of the ordinary, and he wouldn't tell me. If I would have known it, I would have got him medical help and whatnot, but I don't know what he did, and he didn't tell me. I didn't see any burn marks on his body, so that's why I didn't rush him to the hospital. So after the fact, he was deceased.
And then what happened to him?
How did he get deceased? What did you do?
I sent him to bed after I worked him real hard because he wouldn't answer me.
And what do you mean by working him too hard?
I just PT'd his ass till he couldn't handle it. Tried cracking him on butt a couple times to get something out of him to tell me what was he doing.
Right.
What's his motive?
And when you're saying PT, and what are we talking about?
Squats and push-ups.
Squats, push-ups. And how long were you having him PT?
I'm PT like an hour and sent him to bed.
Okay.
Your ass to bed. You're not telling me the truth. I can't help you. Go to bed, man. You're wasting everybody's time.
And then you find out what?
I come back and find out that he's deceased. And when I find out he's deceased, then the shit hits the fan and all.
How does the shit hit the fan, Tim?
The voices start going off, and then here comes the paranoia. Oh shit! What just happened? What just happened? This ain't gonna go. I can't call. Blah, blah. I got all these voices running through my head now.
As Timothy recounts how he killed his children and in what order, we will hear him forcing what emotion would be expected of him, and when he messes up the order of his children, he will speak noticeably less distraught. Faking emotion becomes more difficult when focused on recounting information. Throughout his confession tape, we will see Timothy in the courtroom go from appearing distraught to seemingly composed within a second.
And then what happens, Tim? What did you tell us earlier? So Natan was dead, and then what happened?
And I followed suit with the other 4.
And how did you
So
kill
that
them,
was
Tim?
with my hands.
With your hands? Can you describe what you mean by with your hands?
Around their neck.
Around their neck? Okay.
Who was next?
I'm just gonna put the order so I don't have to go into too much detail.
Okay. Just tell us the order.
Tan, Mira, Elias, Gabriel. Wait. Tan, Eli, Mira, Gabriel, Elaine.
We're about to hear a second reason for why Timothy killed his children. When it comes to parents killing their children, this is not an uncommon thought process. Thinking you are saving your child from a life you do not want for them. They see it as saving or freeing their child of this life.
I think that they were gonna have issues like me.
Issues like you? Okay.
I think that they were gonna have issues from not only from a broken home. I think that there's genetic diseases that I think that there was some things that my dad, if you guys had seen yesterday, he doesn't know about my mom.
Yeah.
I think that there's things I know about my mom, even though I wasn't around when that happened, because I think I've got some of what she has.
What kind of people do you think the children were when you committed the crime? I understand this is a weird question for what we're talking about, but we had to ask it earlier too.
I think they were conspiring.
Think they were conspiring against you?
It seems to make the most sense to me. I mean, why else would somebody go do something like that and not tell me what he's doing?
He's what kind of started this all.
He triggered us all.
If he would have told you what happened to the outlets that night,
I would have went and acted appropriately to try to help him.
none of this would have happened.
I think he didn't tell me because I think it was intended for me. I think that's why it would make sense for him not to tell me.
The following audio recording is between Timothy and his father while he is incarcerated. He will discuss 2 more reasons for what triggered him to kill his 5 children. Timothy will explain to his father that as a child, he always yearned for his mother and he didn't want the same for his son. When his 6-year-old Natan asked for his mother repeatedly and wanting to see her, it triggered Nathan back to his childhood. He blames this as a trigger that made him snap. Timothy will also go on to blame his ex-wife for the reason that he killed his children, saying that if she hadn't cheated on him and they hadn't gotten a divorce, then none of this would have happened. At this point, he has given 5 reasons for his heinous crimes.
The fact of I seen myself in those kids. Natan was trying to get to his mom. It was because he was just like me. He was just like me. You not remember me crying over Cindy growing up, and it wasn't your fault. I was just that way just because that's just how I was. And you really just like me. And I wasn't going to watch him go through all that pain. And I wasn't going to watch him go through all that pain that I did growing up, and that's what caused me to snap. So we can blame Amber on this one. Because if she had been home, where she was supposed to, instead of bopping the boy next door, none of this would have happened. I would not have got to that point.
Timothy describes in vivid detail how he killed each of his children.
On Eli?
I don't think I did. I think it was just bare hands. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to lie to you. Those memories are clouded.
Well, what about, who do you remember using the belt on?
Babies.
On the babies?
Who were the babies, Tim?
Pardon?
Gabriel and Elaine, is that correct? Elaine is also known as Abigail, right? Okay.
And when you say the belt, you put the belt around their...
I used to strangle them.
You used to strangle them. Why didn't you use your hands with them?
I don't know. At that point, I wasn't thinking. At that point, I was just thinking, run, get rid of the bodies. And
Were the older children, did they put up a fight?
I mean, what person's not?
Right.
You told us earlier that Eli said something to you before you killed him. What did he say to you?
Take me with, Dad.
What do you think Eli meant when he said that?
I think he just wanted to go where I was. He knew Natan was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I
don't know exactly what he meant by that. I mean, I don't know where he thought I was going. I didn't even know where I was going at that time. This is just happening. It's like in my mind, I don't know what to do now.
Did any of the other children say anything before you killed him?
Gabriel said, I love you. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's a question I was gonna, we're gonna ask you here. Because we've gone over all this, and you've been honest with us. Are we gonna find any of the other children cut up at all? No? You didn't try to burn them at all?
I can't replace them.
Tim, what
okay.
what about the bleach in the vehicle when you got stopped?
To cover up the blood.
To cover up the blood?
I also, in honest truth, I do like bleach because it makes stuff smell clean.
So you're probably trying to get rid of some of that odor?
Not just that. I mean, no. So I mean, I would carry it around in the car even if before because I liked bleach and it made stuff clean. Like you want to go. Natan was an accident.
He was an accident.
That was really an accident. I was just trying to find out what was going on. If you look at that picture of me holding my little son, yeah, it's just a picture of me with the older one trying to say, son, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't tell me, and I don't know if he was messing with the stuff, and so the PT took him over the edge.
Natan was an accident, but you murdered the other 4 children.
Yes.
Okay.
Timothy has a history of abusing drugs. A current drug that he uses is Scooby Snacks, which is a synthetic marijuana, a mixture of dried plant materials laced with chemical additives.
Now you were telling us that was actually in the car, was not spice, but they are called...
This is Scooby Snacks.
Okay.
You said locally in Lexington County you bought those from where?
Time Warp.
Time Warp.
And what do they kind of do for you?
They calm the voices down inside my head to let me be at peace and not act on them.
They kind of give you the same high as what drug? I think you're talking about
It's like marijuana in the sense that it gives you a high, but it's not the high that I'm looking for. It's the effect of quieting this. It's medication. I know that sounds stupid as heck, but it's why I need to see a doctor.
Now we are at the point in the confession where Timothy recounts what his intentions were with the bodies once he killed his children. We will see him trying to set up the groundwork for pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. He will discuss the voices in his head and blame the fact that he was not in the right mindset.
What did you do earlier? You said when you would strangle them. What would you do with the bodies at that point?
At that point, I was just running on fear, and I wasn't thinking. Any normal person would have said, let me call the police and just turn myself in.
Okay.
I took the coward route and started following those voices in my head, which led me down such a nice path I'm on today.
And what did you do then
What do you mean?
with the bodies?
I put them in bags and threw them on the hill.
Okay, no. When you're at the house,
Oh, load them. I just load them in the car.
did you put them in the bag at that time?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was just 5 dead bodies.
You put them in the vehicle. What type of vehicle was that?
Cadillac Escalade.
All right. And what do you do from there?
I started driving out of fear.
Tim, tell us, what was your original plan to do with the bodies? Now that we've had a chance to talk about it.
I don't know what my original plan was. I had so many thoughts going through my mind.
What were some of them? Because you wrote some notes and you bought some
I had
supplies.
100 different thoughts about what I could do.
Okay.
I don't want to sit and incriminate myself, but
No,
I
you're fine.
had a bunch of different things.
We went over this, but part of your plan was to do what? The bodies.
I think originally I intended to go do all that stuff that I wrote down on the paper, but
Which
then I
was
couldn't
what?
bring myself to it. I was
Right.
gonna just try
What was it?
to do stuff to just get rid of the corpses.
Do you remember what step one
I was
was?
gonna like dissolve them or something like that. I was gonna cut them up and I was gonna do all kinds of stuff.
Did you write down that you were going to burn the bodies?
I think I was gonna burn them, yeah.
And you were going to, what was step two?
Boil them, or I forget what it was. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't remember everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you write that you were going to...
I wrote stuff down that it was in the context of that time, but
All right. Was it something that you were going to cut the bodies up?
something I could bring myself to do, yes.
All right. What is day one?
Burn up bodies.
What's day two?
Saw down bones.
What's day three?
MB smiley face. Dissolve and discard.
Okay, so your initial plan was to do these things with their bodies.
What was one of them? I told you there's other stuff. That just happened to be the one that's materialized. I had a million thoughts going through my
Okay.
mind.
This is a handwritten note that Timothy wrote outlining what he planned to do with the bodies. Head to campground, melt bodies, sand bones to dust or small pieces, and send to sanitation plant. He will also take a pause, remembering that he needs to emphasize the fact that this is not premeditated and written after the fact.
Let's go over this. This is what?
Head to the campground, melt bodies, and send bodies to dust or small bodies. Small discard by a sanitation plant.
Okay, so these are some of the things that were going through your head?
That's just a small amount of stuff that was going through my head, yes.
Did you write this before or after you killed the children?
After.
After?
I wasn't premeditating this, no.
Okay.
This was not premeditated. This was a, oh shit, what just happened?
So you had the bodies in the vehicle. Did you write this in your house, in the car? Where did you write these notes?
That was on the back of a clipboard in the house, I think. Yeah, I would think that would have been the house. I'm not good at writing and driving.
Okay.
This is a Walmart receipt of purchases that Timothy would make after the murders. Things on the receipt include dust mask, goggles, a few different saws, and muriatic acid.
I had these thoughts in my head to try to do this, and then I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Okay. Now we go to the following day. This is going to be the 4th. This is at the Dollar General store, and we're still in Orangeburg, South Carolina. What do you purchase there that we spoke about?
Excuse me.
What's this here?
Some trash bags.
Trash bags. Why'd you buy those trash bags? To do what now?
Put the bodies.
Put the bodies in.
Okay, but then to throw some of my own trash out too.
Okay.
I had a lot of stuff in the vehicle I was trying to throw out.
Now, you said you're just driving around, you have the bodies in the car, and where are you going at that time?
Nowhere, I guess, because in my mind I'm just running. I have nowhere to go.
Because you didn't plan this.
I didn't plan this, no. It's just like,
Spontaneous.
this is spontaneous, and I just fucked up my whole life.
Okay.
One bad incident, and I'm not following through with what I should have.
After Timothy killed his 5 children, he kept them in his car for multiple days. While the children were in bags in his car, he would run errands and even have encounters with the police for other reasons.
What did you tell us happened Friday night?
September 5th.
That was when you said your vehicle got stuck?
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
I pulled off to the side at somebody's house to try to collect myself to see where I was at.
Yeah.
And in the process of pulling back onto the road, I got stuck in a ditch.
You got stuck, and what happened?
The tow truck had to come out. He called a wrecker.
All right. Did you have any law enforcement contact that night?
A law enforcement just showed up on his own. He was patrolling, and
Okay. Can you describe what he looked like?
probably about maybe 5'10", shaved hair, Caucasian male.
Okay.
When you have contact with this officer, where are your children?
In the car.
Okay, they're dead in the car.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they're still where you set them.
Yes, sir.
What's going on in that car since they've been sitting for so long? I mean, you kill them on Thursday.
No, they weren't sitting there. Some of the time I took a couple days and just stayed home.
Okay. Did you leave them in the vehicle?
Or were they in the house at that time?
I think they were in the vehicle and I was just sitting there.
Not what you think. We want to know what the truth is.
I believe that they were in the vehicle.
But you're talking about the weekend it happened.
Yes, and I was just sitting there thinking, what am I going to do?
Okay. Well,
does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Does this tie this together? Because that's what I'm trying to tell you what I know.
Sure. So all I'm saying from that Thursday, though, the 28th, and you say after all this happens, you place their bodies in the vehicle.
Yes.
Between then and the time you come in contact with the officer, and that would be Friday on September 5th. So we have over a week's time that has passed by. Your children are still in the vehicle. Is that correct?
What date?
Friday. When you have contact with the law?
Yeah, so the next Saturday was, yeah.
Okay, so they're in the vehicle the whole time. What's kind of happening in the vehicle? As far as how does it smell in there?
Stinks like shit.
What's happening with the children? You were telling me before.
The blood was probably just coming out of their bodies because I just left them in there. And I believe that, well, as far as I know, I think when your body dies, blood and water separate. I think that's...
Now, we had asked, because you purchased the saws and everything, had you used any of the saws on your children?
I think I tried to start on that time and I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Okay. And we'll get to where that happens. Had you tried with any of the other children?
Mm-mm.
No?
It was kind of the whole center of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are at the site where Timothy will dump the bodies. He will callously recount what happened at this location, starting with him attempting to saw off the leg of his son, Natan.
Okay. Tell us about Natan. Does this happen there? Or did this happen in a separate place? Where
you said you started to cut him?
This happened there.
Where did it happen? In the vehicle? Outside of the vehicle?
Outside of the vehicle.
And what do you do?
I began to try to saw a leg and I couldn't bring myself to finish it. I can't do that.
How far did you get?
Maybe about that far, and I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that to him.
Okay, so you did not cut his leg off?
No.
What did you do with his body?
I just put him in a bag and said, I gotta sit you guys over there. I said a prayer for him and walked away.
Okay, did you place each child in a separate bag? And then did you walk them a couple at a time or one at a time? Which is it?
A couple at a time.
Couple at a time?
Just however many trips it took to get 5 of them over there.
Now, we asked if they're going to be essentially all together, if you put them in different places.
No, I put them in the same place. If somebody didn't check the bags and they started looking in there and moving around, I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
For all I know, they may not be there.
Okay.
I'm not lying to you that much. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know what happened, obviously, between where I put them and the time I'm here now. I don't know if somebody went back and...
You said they just look like they're a pile of...
5 garbage bags.
5 garbage, so it looks like they're just garbage there. Okay. So what do you do then? Do you try to hide the bags at all?
I just put them off to the side. I knew there was no hiding bags. There ain't no hiding this. I'm gonna get caught. It's just a matter of time. I'm buying myself time. I'm gonna get caught.
So you don't try to hide the, in other words, you don't cover the bags up, but you go back to your vehicle, and from your vehicle...
I just drove. Aimlessly.
And then
I say aimlessly, I was on an aimless path toward Las Vegas. That's why I was doing this.
Timothy is going to be directly confronted with the question of whether he knew what he was doing was wrong or not. This is important because the entire basis of pleading not guilty by reason of insanity is not being aware of your actions, or whether they are morally wrong. His response to this direct question is false because he has claimed that he's heard voices in the past and ignored what they've told him to do. This shows that he does have control of his actions and is aware of the morally wrongness of the supposed voice's demands. Again, a mental illness and being legally insane are two totally different things.
So you knew that what you were doing to the children was going to...
I knew that what I was
harm them or take their lives.
It was to protect myself.
Okay.
I know that sounds fucking pathetic.
Now, when you did this crime, did you know it was wrong?
At the time, I didn't think any of it was wrong. It happened in this fucking happenstance, and let me finish it up now.
Okay.
I mean, I've had these thoughts, but none of this happened until this actually materialized. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, why didn't you do that in the past if you've had these thoughts before?
Why didn't I?
Yes.
I didn't have any reason to act on them.
No reason to act on them? Okay. Would you have done this if a uniformed officer had been standing next to you?
Yes.
Even
I wouldn't have cared. No, man, because...
elbow to elbow with you, you would have still
I wouldn't
done
have
this.
cared, yeah. And here's why. At that point in time, I didn't care because I saw myself as a damn target. And I saw him as having a gun in his hand, if you will. I know he was a kid, but that's how I saw it. Like, shit, he's...
And when you say him, you're talking about...
Natan.
Natan. And how old is Natan?
6 years old.
6 years old. Did anyone tell you to do this?
The voices inside my
Voices
head.
in your head. And just confirm the voices in your head are not God.
They're not God. No, God would... No, this ain't Isaac and Abraham.
Okay. When you did this, did you know that society would condemn your actions, even if they knew everything that you know?
I mean, at the time, I sort of didn't care.
You didn't care? Okay.
Yeah, I was like... I don't know, I felt like I was marked for dead, if you will. And I was just acting accordingly.
Did you have any strange or unusual mental experiences around the time of the crime?
Yes.
The questions directed toward Timothy's mental illness are becoming more direct, questioning whether he has ever been professionally diagnosed. As he's confronted with these questions, he is taking longer pauses, realizing that he does not have any medical history or proof of the voices he claims he hears. On the other hand, we hear how quickly he is to divert the attention to scenarios in his life that back up his claims of having mental instability.
Have you ever been told that you had a mental illness?
By a doctor?
Just anybody.
I've had... Oh, yeah, you're fucking nuts, dude. My nickname in high school was the crazy white guy.
Crazy white guy?
I'm not joking. Yeah, that was my nickname.
So people in high school told you this? You told us earlier the military also told
The
you?
military said I was wrongly enlisted due to some wrong enlistment. I fell into depression.
Okay. Have you ever had any treatment or have you ever been hospitalized for any of these issues?
No, I fought it.
You fought it? Okay.
I tried to.
Have you ever had a diagnosis?
No.
No? Do you think you have a mental illness?
I think something's not right. I don't know what I think I may have some, not some.
Okay.
If I'm anything like my mom, yeah, I've got lots.
Tim, have you ever heard or seen things that weren't really there?
Yes.
If so, has this been when taking drugs?
Both, with or without drugs.
With and without drugs? What did you see or hear?
I've seen people. I've had conversations. I've started to talk with people. When there's nobody in the room.
You told me shapes earlier.
I'll see shapes. Yeah, it's the strangest thing. I'll see shapes and things materialize that aren't real.
Has this happened while we've been talking to you tonight?
Yes.
What have you seen while you were talking to us tonight?
Well, I see people.
What kind of people do you see?
Just normal, everyday people. I don't talk to them because if you guys, you're gonna say start talking to me, not them, dude. If you pay attention to what's going on in my cell, I get so nutty, I start talking to them.
Did this happen the day of the crime?
Yes.
What did you see the day of the crime? Did you see people?
Oh, I think you're talking about I'm sorry, this goes back to the voices.
Just the voices? Okay.
Yeah, the voices ran rampant in my head. And there was no space for logic to talk. They were so loud.
You say you're not suicidal at all.
If I was gonna do it, it would have already happened. No, man, I'm not willing to take that. I'll do a lot of stuff, but...
Because you said your religious beliefs.
Taking my life is not one of them.
Because what happens? You say if you kill yourself...
If you kill yourself, well, maybe nothing does happen, and maybe... Lord, I love you. Maybe God's a myth, and we die and we go to the ground. But if he's not, and it's real, well, if it does what it says, hell's not a very fun place. I don't think it plans on freezing over anytime soon. I don't want to go there.
In the end, the jury was not convinced that Timothy Jones Jr. was legally insane. With that said, the jury suggested that the death penalty punishment would be appropriate for his heinous crimes, and the judge adopted it, leaving him on death row where he is today.
We, the jury, in the above entitled case, have found beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following statutory aggravating circumstances, to wit, 2 or more persons were murdered by the defendant by act or pursuant to one scheme or course of conduct, and the murder of 5 children 11 years of age or younger. Now recommend to the court that the defendant, Timothy R. Jones, Jr., be sentenced to death.
Do you think he is criminally insane? While he claimed to have similar thoughts before, was this premeditated? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and join me next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.